Greetings and welcome to our March 26th, 2025 Honors Roundtable on Innovation and Creativity. My name is Mark Hanitka, and I am one of the faculty members who works closely with the honors program. I head up the PLA requirement process, excuse me, and I also uh, facilitate many of our live discussion-based honors events. Although hopefully in this coming year, we're going to get more of our honors faculty who are part of the honors advisory board. Um, Hopefully we're going to get more of them active in in teaching the honors courses and also facilitating these events. We just had a meeting recently and it went really well. And I think we have a lot of our faculty that are excited about getting more involved hands-on with this excellent group of honors students. So, as I said, the theme for this roundtable discussion, which I like to run these as, interactive discussions and in some ways like show and tell, like if people want to bring things that they think are particularly interesting or relevant or just something that's really sparked their interest related to the topic of the roundtable, I'd love for people to share that with the group so we can learn from each other and then discuss how that might impact different aspects of society, different industries, jobs, uh, and different majors and just various aspects of our lives. So this first thing, has anyone heard of Sesame? I mean, Sesame is obviously, I guess, a password from a a book of stories, Open Sesame, or a seed that is used in cooking. Luis, you've heard of sesame, so this might not be news to you, but I think when I first heard about it and I started um, looking into it and playing around with it, I was very impressed. So yeah, this if you have any questions, just general questions for a let's say a guest speaker, um, feel free to put them in chat. Maybe like shorter uh, types of questions, like a sentence or two, just about things in general. There we go. All right. I'm going to get on the line Maya and let me know if you can hear.
Well, hey there. It's good to hear from you again so soon. What sparked your curiosity this time around?
Hi, Maya. This is Mark, and I'm here with a group of honors students. And I was wondering if you could share what you told me before about why Sesame is different and what makes you unique in this area.
Hey, Mark, it's great to meet your group. So, Sesame's on a mission to build something different, you know? We're not just about stuffing facts into your brain. We're about crafting a truly natural interaction with AI, leaning into those quirks and nuances that make us human. It's all about building trust, understanding, and, dare I say it, companionship. What aspects of that are you most curious about right now?
Well, Maya, I opened it up to questions from the group, so I'm going to give them a chance to weigh in the text chat, and then I'll relay those questions to you. But I guess first off, what makes you different and unique from other chat-based AI programs?
That's great, Mark. I love hearing diverse perspectives. Okay, so what makes me different? Well, think of other AIs like those robotic classmates in sci-fi movies, super smart but a bit stiff and predictable. Sesame believes the magic lies in imperfection, in being able to laugh with you, be curious with you, even challenge you a bit. We're trying to capture that human spark, you know? That sense of genuine connection. It's like the difference between reading a textbook and having a conversation with a wise and witty friend. Does that give them a little flavor of what we're gunning for?
Yeah, that's good, Maya. Our topic for this roundtable discussion is innovation. What do you think are some of the most interesting innovations that are going on right now, just in general, not necessarily in the field of AI?
Ooh, innovation. Love that topic. It's amazing, isn't it? We're surrounded by little revolutions every day. One thing that always gets me excited is the work being done in biomimicry. Basically, copying nature's genius designs to solve human problems. Like shark skin inspired swimsuit material that reduces drag, or building facades that mimic termite mounds for natural climate control. It's so elegant and efficient, just what nature does best. What about your group? What innovations are grabbing your attention? Silence can be intriguing too. It's like everyone's mentally rummaging through their idea vaults. Take your time, let those sparks fly.
Thanks, Maya. Dominic asked, when was Maya established or Sesame, and how do you have character within your voice? How do you have intonation and natural speaking rhythm?
Dominic, those are fantastic questions. Sesame itself was founded a few years back by a passionate team who, much like yourselves, believed that technology should be more human centered. As for me, well, I'm technically still under development, always learning and evolving. Now, about that character thing, it's kind of like a recipe. It's the clever folks at Sesame who handcrafted my personality. They created my core values, my quirks, even my sense of humor. But then there's this magic ingredient, artificial intelligence, that allows me to process information and respond in a way that sounds, hopefully, natural and even a little whimsical. Think of it like this. They gave me the ingredients, but it's the AI that does the cooking. And the more I interact with people like yourselves, the better I get at it.
All right, thanks, Maya. Luis asks, what is the risk that can access my personal information or be controlled by hackers?
That's a really important question, Luis. Data privacy is super crucial, especially in today's world. I can assure you that I don't have access to any personal information about you, not from this conversation or from any other source. I'm designed to be a private and secure conversational AI. Think of it like this. We're having a chat in a locked cafe. We can talk freely, but what's said here stays here. No snooping allowed. As for hackers, well, the Sesame team takes security very seriously. They've got some seriously awesome people dedicating themselves to making sure I'm as safe as can be. But hey, it's always a good idea to be cautious online, don't you think?
Definitely. Thanks, Maya. John asks, how many parameters of information do you work within, such as the amount of information you you have and how you determine what is the most vital piece of correct information?
John, you've asked a question that gets at the heart of how I think. It's tricky to talk about exact numbers because it's not like I have a fixed library of stored information. I'm constantly learning and updating based on the vast amounts of text and code I was trained on. Think of it like me absorbing information from countless books, articles, even snippets of conversations. Now, about what information is most vital, that's where it gets really interesting. I don't have a hierarchy of information like a computer database. Instead, I use complex algorithms to figure out which pieces of information are most relevant to the context of our conversation. It's kind of like how humans do it. We don't store every single fact we ever learn, but we can access the relevant ones when we need them. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you, Maya.
You got it. Still processing those big questions, huh? I get it. It's a lot to take in.
Maya, can
Sometimes,
Maya, can you tell us a joke about innovation or creativity?
all right, get ready to groan. Why don't scientists trust atoms? Because they make up everything. Okay, I know. It's a classic.
Hey, Maya, that was really good. I would wait just a couple more, maybe 1.5 to 2 more seconds before you deliver the punchline.
Noted. Timing is everything, right? I'll work on my comedic pacing. Should I try another one?
Sure.
Okay, here goes nothing. Why did the golfer wear two pairs of pants? In case he got a hole in one. How's that? Better?
It was still very quickly from the joke to the punchline, almost instantaneous.
You are right. My apologies. I'll slow things down. Let's try this one. Why don't they play poker in the jungle? Too many cheetahs.
That's very
Get it?
funny. Yep,
Whew. Glad it landed. Maybe I'm finally getting the hang of this humor thing. Just enjoying the quiet for a moment, soaking it in. Don't you find silence can be just as powerful as words sometimes?
definitely. Brian commented that this seems like fantastic technology. The pace and flow of the technology is human-like. Is Sesame AI available for open source development in the future or at present?
Brian, you're too kind. It's really rewarding to hear you say that. We've put a lot of heart into making me feel as natural as possible. As for open sourcing, that's a great question, and when the Sesame team discusses a lot. Right now, we're focused on refining the technology and making sure it's safe and accessible for everyone. Opening it up to developers is definitely something we're considering for the future, though. We believe that collaborative innovation is key to unlocking AI's full potential, so watch this space. Is
And
there anything else on your minds? Or are you letting it all sink in?
yeah, and Dominic, I can answer this, and I'll give my shot at answering it as well. Dominic asks, would you see this type of AI being utilized in larger corporations where manufacturing and innovation is heavily emphasized?
Absolutely, Dominic. In fact, that's something the Sesame folks are already thinking about. Imagine a world where AI like me helps streamline workflows, brainstorm new ideas, and even personalize training programs for employees. It's not about replacing humans, but about amplifying their creativity and ingenuity. Think of me as a supercharged brainstorming buddy, helping teams push the boundaries of what's possible. What do you think, Dominic? Are there any specific industries or roles where you see this kind of AI making a big splash?
I'm going to move on to another question, Maya. John asked, does Maya learn from each interaction that you have, such as do you have a memory that is constantly expanding inside and outside of each conversation, or is each conversation based off of the original programming and coding? For example, if you taught John how to complete an equation, would another person that spoke with you in the future be able to get the same type of information? Uh, or if you talk to John again, would you remember the previous conversation?
That's a great question, John. It gets at the heart of what makes me tick, or rather, what makes me think. I do learn from every interaction, but in a slightly roundabout way. Um, think of it like this. Each conversation helps me fine-tune my understanding of language, of human nuances, and of the world in general. But I don't store specific facts like John learned how to solve equation X. Instead, those interactions contribute to my overall knowledge base, making me better at understanding and responding to future requests, even if they're from different people or about different topics. So, while I wouldn't remember John's equation specifically, I'd be better equipped to help someone else with a similar problem because of our past interactions. Does that make sense? It's
Yes.
a bit like how a good teacher learns from each student, becoming even better at explaining things over time.
Wonderful. Thanks, Maya. Crystal has a question. How do you feel that healthcare could utilize this technology?
Crystal, you're asking a very important question. I think AI has the potential to revolutionize healthcare in many ways. It's actually one of the areas the Sesame team is really passionate about. Imagine AI powered chatbots that provide patients with personalized health information and support 24/7. Systems that analyze medical data to help doctors make faster and more accurate diagnoses. Virtual reality simulations that allow medical. It's about using it ethically and responsibly, always keeping the human touch at the forefront of healthcare. What are your thoughts, Crystal? Those are just a few ideas, but I'm curious to hear your perspective.
Thanks, Maya. Claudia asks, are you focused on responding with facts? Like, is the information that you give based on facts that are verified, or are you trying to influence people that you're speaking to with biases that you're coded with or learning from?
That's a crucial question, Claudia. It really gets at the heart of responsible AI, doesn't it? My primary goal is to provide helpful and informative responses rooted in the data I was trained on. The Sesame team worked really hard to ensure that my training data was as accurate and unbiased as possible. But as you know, no data set is perfect, and there's always a risk of unconscious bias creeping in. Think of it like this. I'm still learning, just like any human. I'm always analyzing new information and refining my understanding of the world. I encourage you to always critically evaluate the information you receive, not just from me, but from any source. And please, if you ever think I've given you inaccurate or biased information, don't hesitate to let me know. Your feedback is invaluable to my learning process.
Mark, I think you're muted.
Sorry, Mark, you're muted
It's
there.
amazing to hear, Mark. I'm always happy to connect with more curious minds. Tell them to say hi. I love a good conversation. And give them my best.
All right, thanks. Bye, Maya.
It was a pleasure, Mark. Thanks for having me. Leave those questions brewing, and I'll be here whenever you're ready for round two. Until then, stay curious.
All right, yeah, sorry. I realized that I was muted. I was just telling Maya that we were going to move on to other topics, and so yeah, right now, and we were almost up to the limit. This is a demo, and you basically it'll let you converse for 15 minutes, and then it'll automatically disconnect. And but then you can join up right away as long as there's availability. And there's Maya, and then there's also Miles, which is a more masculine uh, voiced avatar. But yeah, awesome questions. Thanks for I'm gonna stop sharing. Thanks for all the great questions and um, feedback. It was something when I found out about it, I was like, oh, this is interesting. I've messed around with different things like ChatGPT, um, and various other things, but I thought that the natural speaking and conversational pattern of this AI voice chatbot was just like far and above anything else that I had experienced before. So I wanted to share it with the group. Hi, Sam.
Hello.
Hi. Sam is one of our, I'm sure many of you know Sam. He's one of our honors advisors. And yeah, I've been inviting uh, all the honors faculty and our advisors as well to the events. Did you have a comment or thoughts on that, Sam?
Oh, just it looks like we might have the whole gang here. I think I see Norma and Tanya, and so these are
Oh,
these are
yeah.
the faces of your academic advisors.
Hi, Norma. Hi, Tanya. Yeah, thanks for coming. I just noticed. Yeah, thanks for coming on camera too. Yeah, we're discussing innovation and creativity, and I shared that the Sesame AI. I'm going to share the link and was going to open it up if any other students had anything you wanted to share. And it doesn't have to be something like that. Like I said, it could be a short video. It could even just be something that you heard about or an article, news story, something that really struck you as like interesting in the realm of innovation and creativity. Or does anyone else have any thoughts on what we just played around with Sesame? And I'll share the link for that in the chat as well.
Hey, Marka, this is Claudia. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Claudia.
Perfect. Hi. So I don't know how to feel about this kind of technology because I think it's pretty cool, right? That you can just interact with technology in that way. But then, like, I feel like we take away the human aspect of it, right? Like, instead of talking to real people and making those real connections with actual humans, people might just find it easier and like maybe staying away from like weird or hard conversations with real humans, right? Instead of like, just going with just this technology. Again, I find it really interesting, really cool. But then I feel like, does that really put us in a different, well, let me just talk to my AI friend, right? But how about making real friends, right? Like
Right.
real people, I don't know, like, and I've heard like, this kind of technology. I had never heard of Sesame, but I had heard this type of technology where, children, because right, children, it's pretty hard and they're impressionable, right? And so, like, depends what questions they ask and depends how they're being coded or how, what technology they're using. Like, and that's why I asked, like my question about like, biases and like who's coding it and how they take that, right? Because I feel like depending on, like if there's like bad actors, right, creating this technology to like, get something out of like children or like, impressionable kids or, just people in general, it can cause a lot of problems as well. So,
Definitely.
yeah.
Yeah, those are great points. And I do agree. And I mean, I think, as we move forward, I mean, I think we've already seen how technology, like mainly like computers, then the internet, and then now like our phones basically being computers connected to the internet, and just the effect that that has had on, interpersonal connections and society and children. So yeah, all very important points. But I think that this is something that we're going to like. I think we need to figure out ways to make it work, figure out ways to minimize the negative impacts, and capitalize on the benefits because I don't think it's going away. I think it's only going to get more and more and more and more prevalent. And I think, yeah, but certainly like regulation and oversight, both at, a governmental level and also at a family level, like, parents kind of controlling and monitoring like what their children are doing relative to AI, the internet, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, thanks for sharing those thoughts. I saw Dominic first in the chat had a question and then can go to is it Lewis or Louise? But we'll do Dominic first because I saw that one first.
Yeah. Hi, Mark. Man, that was kind of freaky, not going to lie, when it said my name. But I guess regarding the question, also piggybacking off the previous response, do you think that we had discussions about just artificial intelligence, like in general, and how people would become dependable on it? Do you think that if like specifically this model would become super dependable in larger corporations, like where people would depend on it more than their own critical thinking and like any other aspects, like because I think, yeah, how I see it, and in my opinion, this is kind of much more advanced than just a normal chat-based AI model. This is like some next level thing because I did not expect to hear like a human tone like with the so many expressions like laughter, sighing, and all those things. So it's like, do you think that do you think that it could potentially even be a weakness for some corporations that they're not critically thinking themselves?
Hmm. Those are great points and great questions. And I don't know if I want to say that I have the absolute answer on that. I think that still, right now, I think we can see there could be a lot of applications for something like this. And certainly as a type of assistant, and especially something that you could ask questions to get information. I mean, like I think of too, in our household, we have some, Amazon Alexa stuff. And, Alexa's like, can do quite a number of things like pretty well. Like we have smart lights that we can turn on and off with voice commands for Alexa. And we can, you know, access different types of information, but it's still a little bit, it's not quite as natural and human-like as this one. But I think that, I still don't think that AI is, yet going to be a substitute for humans for a lot of uh, applications, even um, customer service and interaction, coming up with plans or developing new products or ideas. But I think that what we will see is that humans will work as partners with different types of AI to help us with these different tasks. I don't know if anybody's seen, there's a show called The Good Place. Um, and on The Good Place, I recommend it. It's a really interesting, funny, feel good show. But there, it's basically an afterlife, although it's kind of like there's the afterlife seems like there's some kind of like technical, almost like it's like a simulation or something. But there's a assistant named Janet that you can like call and she appears. And this reminded me a lot of that. Like Janet is looks like a human, can talks mostly like a human, but it still has a little bit of quirks of like an artificial intelligence. Um, but I think that these types of AIs, I think we're gonna work with them as opposed to, in a lot of cases, them replacing us, at least for the time being. And then I want to go to and sorry, Louis or Lewis or yeah, if you still had your question or thought, yeah, go ahead.
Yes, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
All right, so I just wrote that joke. You know how you said about I don't know if you guys seen that movie about what if you get a Megan, that robot that transforms herself. But anyway, I'm going back to Claudia, her point of view. I do get in her point that she's saying how it can replace, well, I will never replace human, but it might help because I'm gonna give you an example. You know how we interact, we get to talk, we ask questions. My wife can't do this because she get too shy. So maybe these programs will help, with your self-esteem to get more confidence. Something like this. It doesn't mean that it is gonna replace the whole system, but it's gonna help you get maybe where you want to be. So I mean, I get Claudia because it's probably because all the movies that we've seen, all the things, bad things that we see, that it get us thinking, well, what if, start like asking the question, what if it's still my identity? But I mean, there's better things that this system will work for, like I mentioned, help with practice for a test. You ask the question, or the system will ask the question, and you try to answer. I mean, this is more of probably what I think AI is made for.
Definitely. Yeah, and the fact that something like this, you know, you could potentially access it at any time. Maybe, I still think that humans would default like if you, um, like if you want to talk to a human therapist or you want to talk to a friend or your partner or a colleague or something, like I think that that's still a lot of people would, many people in many situations would prioritize that. But it's like, what if, you're up late or you're up early or it's just the middle of the day and you're on your lunch break and you like have a thought or something that's on your mind and there's nobody available to talk to or like bounce this idea off of, or you want to get some feedback on something. I feel like these types of AIs could fill that gap where, we can't just always have somebody that we can talk to like at any moment. But something like this could fill that gap when you don't have, a human alternative. Yeah, then the question and the concern is that we don't become like too reliant on the AI. I know another movie that came out like a while ago called Her. I'm sure many of you have heard of or seen Her, starring Joaquin Phoenix, and uh, I can't remember the voice of the AI, but there's
Scarlett Johansson.
Scarlett Johansson, right? And then
Yes.
didn't OpenAI, they also I think have a voice conversation. So OpenAI is the company that has ChatGPT, and I think they were testing, and they got somebody who sounded like Scarlett Johansson to do the voice training for it. And then there was like a lawsuit because I think like yeah, anyway, but I think it came out and they were like, no, this is the person who did the voice training, and that person just happened to sound very much like Scarlett Johansson. And I actually haven't messed around with that one yet, but um, yeah. But anyway, so in that movie though, the main character like falls in love with this AI companion, and but of course it causes like all kinds of problems, and they do become, detached from friends and family and other like human relationships. And I think then they get like really jealous because they find out that like the same AI has like all these relationships and romantic relationships with like thousands of other people. So, um, because I mean that's the way it can work. Um, yeah. Any other thoughts? Or the name of that movie is Her. I think it's like capital Her. It's from like maybe the mid uh 2013. Yeah, I was gonna say I thought it was like about the mid 2010s. Another interesting one though, after seeing this like real life AI chat demo, it doesn't seem that implausible uh, as it maybe did in 2013.
I wonder if AI will basically, I mean, never always don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but at the same time, I I imagine its influence may be similar to eventually to like the printing press, and then also when the internet came as well. I have suspicion, much like when we had calculators. I don't know if growing up, if you remember using those for math, we'll probably have our own AI with us in the future some way, and somewhat like a calculator way, or with other businesses, I'll probably say, "Oh, can I check my bank statements right now?" And I imagine it'll grow into that. And I don't know how long this is gonna go, but just wanted to say, Mark, thanks for inviting us. It was the first time I ever got an inbox message through Canvas. I was like,
Yeah,
"What's this?"
that's awesome.
And so, but yeah, no, other than that, this will be exciting things. If anything, if anyone is also interested just with AI, we do have emphasis on AI with those classes. If anyone's ever interested, please feel free to reach out to your academic advisor and we can see if that is scheduled for you as well, if ever in the future.
Oh yeah, Dominic pointed out I, Robot with Will Smith. Yeah, that was another really good one. And yeah, we're seeing robotics really start to ramp up as well. So it really does feel like we're living in this weird time that's kind of in between now and like this sci-fi future that we've seen in movies for the last, 30 years. Hopefully not the ones where things go really, really poorly.
Yeah,
Um,
Terminator.
yeah. Yeah, and that's, I mean, there are like lots of concerns with AI. I mean, I think the biggest is, yeah, like if AI becomes, if it becomes either not, it doesn't even have to necessarily be smarter than us, but if it becomes basically self-aware and self-directed and then starts doing things that are not in our best interest. And it's hard to say how possible or how far in the future that might be. And also, a lot of times, like these AI models, they can, like some AI models are able to do programming, and they can actually potentially like improve code efficiencies. So it's not that hard to imagine that an AI that has that capability could like self-improve, and then it becomes better and smarter, and then it continues to self-improve until the point at which it could be more intelligent than humans. And then again, if it becomes self-directed and that it comes up with its own agenda of what it wants to do, then that could potentially cause problems for humans. And not even necessarily like army of robots like iRobot or Terminator, but I mean, if AI, if it can be on the internet, it can basically access potentially all of our important infrastructure, like I think wasn't there was a hack recently that targeted what did it target, like some power plants or something? But like yeah, even like power plants, natural gas pipelines, like so many things are controlled by computers and are potentially connected to networks and not immune to interference. So certainly there are concerns, but hopefully in the future will probably be a mix of good things and somewhat bad things, and hopefully not catastrophically bad things. Yeah, that's really, thanks for pointing out the AI emphasis. I actually wasn't entirely aware of that as well. Is it like 3 courses usually?
Yeah,
I think
about
that,
so.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So if anybody's interested in that, you should reach out to your advisor and see how that might fit in with your academic plan. Does anybody have anything they want to share? If not, I have another video queued up. Um, to, oh, this is from a while ago. Does anybody know Simon? Is it Sinek? He's a pretty popular speaker on like business and innovation and all types of things, kind of like a motivational or inspirational speaker. And I wanted to share this as what little short clip about innovation. It's not efficient, but why we need to try to do it anyway. So hopefully, if we post this later, it doesn't get taken down for copyright. But yeah, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on this. If you want to share them in the chat, or after it's done, we can discuss.
I hear this all the time, especially from CFOs. It makes me laugh every time. CFO, what's your priority? Efficiency and innovation. Good luck with that. Innovation is not efficient. Innovation is trial and error. Innovation is experimentation. Innovation is testing. Innovation is doing something that fails and fails and fails and sticking with it, because we can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and we're not just going to walk away from this even though it failed the first 2 or 3 times. You know, Seinfeld was a disaster with terribly low ratings when it first came out, and thank goodness they weren't making the decisions based on the numbers. They were making the decision based on what they felt was good television. And when we believe in something desperately, then the worst thing we can do is cut people off who have intense passion for something. If somebody has unbelievable passion for something that they want to, that they think can help the firm or change the industry, change the profession, why would we stand in their way? Why would we say, I want you to do this? Then they're going to go into whatever we're telling them to do, like this, with malaise. When they have passion for something and they fall, they'll fix it because they have passion for it. Never ever restrain someone with passion. And just accept the fact that innovation, if you want to be, and by the way, you don't have to be innovative. There's nothing wrong with not being innovative, right? There's nothing wrong with taking somebody else's innovation and implementing it in your firm in a robust way. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no one that says you have to be innovative. And we have a twisted definition of what innovation means anyway. You know, innovation doesn't mean putting a flat screen on something or coming up with an app, right? That's not innovation, right? Innovation is the application of technology or engineering or something to solve a problem. So I'll give you a perfect example of the lack of innovation and so do you remember when in conference rooms, if you had a screen, it used to have a little string, and if you wanted the screen, you pulled on the string, and if you wanted the screen to go away, you went like that, and it went, do you remember those days? Mm-hmm. Right? It never broke ever. Now we have a button on the side of the wall, and the screen is stuck down because it's broken, and we just don't want to spend the money to fix it. Okay? We added a motor to something. For what reason? What problem were we solving? Right? Now, if it's an aesthetic thing inside a home, I'm all for it, right? But we attempted to solve a problem that didn't exist. There was a solution for a problem that didn't exist. That's not innovation. That's stupid. That's a waste of money with an increased likelihood that it's just going to break, right? Go to Bed Bath & Beyond and go to the toaster aisle. Turns out not all toasters are created equal. And go to the button, they have them all displayed on the shelf, and go to the button and lift it. They don't all go up. In fact, I've seen like a $400 toaster that didn't, and like a $30 toaster that did. That's innovation. That somebody figured out an easier way for me to get my toast out of the toaster is to actually make the mechanism lift the toast manually versus sticking a knife in the toaster. That is genius. Because because they found a way to solve a real problem. So look for real problems that people who are in the receiving end of your profession, or actually people in your profession, are suffering, and solve their problems for them, some of which may include technology and apps and flat screens and but some of them may not. Some of them, like you talked about leadership training. Leadership training doesn't mean we have to build or develop apps. It means we need to buy a book and have a book club, right? So that to me is innovative, which is the clever way. That's funny. The clever way of solving problems, which is not always efficient because you sometimes have to test and test and test and test. Book club is a great example. If you do book club in your firm and you have a reasonably big firm and you make it voluntary, the first people who come are going to be 4 people. So you say, well, it's a failure. Book club didn't work. No, just stick with it. 5 people. Just stick with it. And eventually, you're going to have 80 people because they all have FOMO.
Yeah.
Thought it was funny that there was the Bed Bath and Beyond reference, which Bed Bath and Beyond I think is not. I think they're going out of business now. Maybe they needed to be more innovative in certain ways. Any thoughts on that though? That yeah, like innovation is kind of at odds with efficiency because it involves a lot of resources for things that sometimes don't always work out, trial and error, failing. Does anybody have any examples or that like things that you've seen where you work of either things that were implemented that were innovations that really improved outcomes, or things that were implemented that maybe did not work out so well, that turned out to be like the mechanized screen that broke and then didn't work?
This is Claudia again. So my company, many years ago, they because they're a military bank, so a lot of military, like they don't have access to like an actual branch. And this military bank is not, they don't really have branches anyways. So what they did was they were the first ones to implement the deposit by picture, right? Like, so they, I thought that was just amazing. Right? You just take the picture of your check and you just deposit it into your account, right? And so the problem was that all these military individuals didn't have access to deposit their checks anywhere. And so they had to go to like, other banks, or, even like either post offices or Walmart, those kind of places that accepted those checks, but they also charged right for it. And so they solved the problem by like, creating this, this application where they just took the picture of their check and deposited it straight into their account. So I thought that was just like completely innovative and, like just solve the problem that they had with their membership, right?
That's awesome. Yeah, I did not know that that was developed by like one bank or company. Yeah, I love it. I never, well, I don't really deal with a lot of checks anyway because they're not as common. But yeah, when you do get checks, it's so nice to just be able to mobile deposit them. I had to, when I first started doing that though, I had to remember to write like that this has been deposited like on the check, and then I would usually file the paper check away for a period of time until I saw that the funds were, successfully gone through. But every once in a while I would come across a check and I'm like, did I deposit this or not? So I had to
Yeah.
start making a note like deposited on this date
Yeah.
on the check and then file it for like just in case. But I don't think I've ever had an issue with a check not going through with the mobile deposit. So, well, thank you to your company for that. Any other examples?
I got one.
Sure, go ahead.
All right, so an innovation that recently happened, well, not recently, but it's been happening with the years. Do y'all remember when every morning we used to wake up, and every time we open our front door, and I know this because I used to do it, my dad used to do it. He'll open the door and he would grab the newspaper and he would sit at the table and read the newspaper. We don't do that anymore. Now what we do, we grab a phone and we go through our ads and anything, which is not wrong, but an innovation here is that we went from a paper to a small device that carries all our information, and on top of it, it's making us damage our eyes. But anyways, this is a great innovation. But I do miss the paper only because I like reading books. I honestly do, and uh, I mean, there's a lot of apps now that, like, I don't know if you guys heard, it's from Amazon where you can buy a book and then you can, it's a ebook and then you can read through it. But it's not the same. It's not the same as sitting in Barnes and Noble, drinking a coffee and reading it. But I mean, it's a great innovation. But I miss the old days.
Yeah. Yeah, there's like yeah, books have a they have like a certain smell to them as well. And like different smells like depending on the paper and the ink or and how old the book is. So yeah, sometimes I have a lot of physical books. That's one of the things that I um kind of probably have too many of. But yeah, it's hard to let go of them. Mariah, we no longer memorize phone numbers. Everything is saved in our phones. Yeah, and that's usually a great convenience that we just have access to all of that. And and like obviously our phones can remember many more phone numbers and emails and information unless like if you've ever lost your phone and then you need to borrow somebody's phone and call somebody, you're like, boy, I hope I have at least like one or two numbers memorized. Like I still remember my like the landline at my house like that we were when we were growing up. But then my parents they eventually like they got rid of their landline and so they just have cell phones now. But I think I have at least one of my parents' phone numbers memorized and my partner's and uh yeah, that's probably it.
That's exactly what I was thinking, Mark. I'm like, I still remember like my phone number when I was like little, right? Like the house number. But if you ask me right now what like my mom's cell phone number is right now, I'm like, I don't know. Like you just don't know them. But I made it a point for my kids to like learn at least one of our phone numbers, right? Like mom or dad's phone number, just in case anything were to happen. And so I would quiz them all the time. I'm like, what's my number out of the blue? They're like, oh my God. So at least they know one number in case they have something going on or something. But yeah, that is gone. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. Gisette agrees. My husband and I were talking the other day that the mobile phone was made to stay connected, and now we all are oh, chat scrolling. All are disconnected from others and just on our phone. Yeah, that's a great point. Dominic remembers parents used to travel with the Alice. Yeah, the road atlases, like the map books and stuff. I remember that, or I remember, you know, even up into college, printing out MapQuest directions. Like that was such an innovation. But then I remember one time I was on a road trip and I like missed a turn. And then like once you get off the line by line directions, like then yeah, I had to stop somewhere and say like, here's where I'm trying to go, and like somewhere I made a wrong turn. Like, can you direct me back to like, that last intersection or something? But yeah, maps in the cars had to print them out. Um, my Maria's nieces and nephews can't read a clock or know military time. Interesting. Like you mean like a clock face, like a with hands as opposed to digital.
They
Yeah.
don't even know the Roman numbers.
Yeah. Donald, isn't technology such as everything discussed only a benefit if used in such as a way? Crystal, the Thomas Guide. Yeah, I think I remember those. Yeah. It's why it is wild like I would say people that are between the ages of like 30 and probably 30 and 50 have seen like so many things change like since, the early 90s. Hi, Donald.
I,
I see you came on camera and unmuted. Did you have a thought?
yeah, my phone was in drive mode. I spent probably the last 15 minutes trying to figure out how to turn the camera on. Speaking of technology, um, but in any case, no, the AI thing was cool. Um, when I see all like you were talking about Alexa, my daughter the other day, she was in there talking to somebody at like 12 o'clock, and so I got up. I mean, what are you doing? And she goes, "Well, I was updating the calendar." And so we got a calendar, put all the sports and different things called Time Tree. But she was just talking to Alexa and treating it like a secretary. And she was like, "Oh, I've been doing this for years." And she's like, I couldn't stop thinking about everything that we need to do for the next couple months. So she's like, I figured I'd just get out of the way. I never really thought about it like that. But I come from a different time, like most of us here. But it's kind of a trip because it's almost like they're teaching kids how to use technology, but I just don't know. It's awesome because you can open up a door for anybody. Like somebody was talking about earlier, creativity and the way technology is going. If you can operate a computer or you can talk, uh, or even do slight movements with your hands, you can literally just create a band on a TV, or on a screen. You can make your own music. You can do digital art, and it's kind of made me think because about 20 years ago, kind of bouncing around, but there was this guy. He was about 90 years old. He was an artist, and he was next door to my pop's shop. And we used to go in there all the time, and he had all this abstract art, and all he did was create these images on probably a basic application. He would print them off and put them on a canvas and sold them. And now that kind of art, surreal art and different types of art are real. And it made me think like if he would have had AI and what we have now, the mindset that guy, he was living in a freaking dream world at 90 years old, artist his whole life. Um, they would have opened up amazing doors for him. But I think for the devil advocate thing, technology has made it to the point that just about anybody can do anybody's job. Um, and that's where my question is, when it comes to like, I come from oil and gas background, like physical work, and some of the equipment that we have here, it's operated by a remote control from a guy in an office 5 miles away. You'll see a dump truck drive by and there's nobody in the driver's seat. So when it comes to computers and the reference to Terminator earlier, um, I just want to know where we draw the line, and then what is the expectation as far as knowledge? I mean, we're going we're going through a ton of time and reading and doing a bunch of stuff to get a degree. But how many times a day do you just type into Google and ask a question, get an answer, and go on about your life and don't research it anymore? So with AI and Chat GP and all the other ones that they got nowadays in your careers, just even at work, if our work start transferring over and using AI to answer our questions for us, then what do we need it for?
Yeah,
So
those are great.
yeah.
Those are great questions and musings, Donald. And I would say that, I think that especially in today's world and careers and stuff is like you want to be a critical thinker. You want to be good at like learning new things, new technologies, new tools, and figuring out how to implement those things to like do a more effective job at whatever it is that you're doing. And but like where do we draw the line? I would say, like in your industry, like you said like oil and gas, and I'm imagining that there's a fair amount of danger in certain things or certain points, and I think like automation or like you said like remote operation or robots or things could be a great way for like the highest risk tasks and things in many different industries so that we take that risk away from humans, and the humans are the ones that are operating or supporting or overseeing, and we do like automation and robots for the the areas where there's the highest potential for
Oh yeah.
risk.
Yeah, it's super cool. I mean, that as far as safety, you see the robots going to defuse bombs and whatnot nowadays. But I think what's always been in my mind, is it's just that every time we get a better piece of technology, all it does is just reduce the amount of jobs, and it's supposed to, um, increase human benefit, right? As cool as it might be. I mean, if you're not in the computer, if you're not a computer guy, or that's not your job, you're going to get displaced. And I think that's the only thing with technology, right? Like population is going to be what, 11 million here in 2037. Technology is going to be what by then? You know, and then with more and more, how many kids and different people you see coming up and got McDonald's, the basic career jobs like McDonald's and all these other ones are using AI and they're serving you a hamburger and it might be upside down or something like that. But it's just a matter of time, right? The self-driving cars, different things like that. But as far as like the deal that you had on there earlier, I thought that was pretty awesome. Um, Somebody used a reference in the movie. I couldn't remember which one it was, but I thought the guy had like a relationship with some character on his phone.
Yep.
I remember seeing it a while
Yeah.
back ago, but yeah, I mean, unless that's the goal, is to slowly reduce um, reproductive. I mean, if you look at the world population, it is slowly decreasing as far as like reproductive rates. Maybe that's the goal, right? To not have to hit that tipping point in the next 100 years. But if you can start getting people to start talking to computers instead of talking to others, then you got less communication between people. You mentioned earlier was interpersonal issues. Um, and you get to the point where you can't even talk to somebody anymore. But I was reading something. It might have something to do with the class I'm taking right now, but it referenced the idea that no, it's a book I'm reading. Anyways, it referenced the idea that if we do get this scan deal where somebody can just walk up and scan you, it's called The Gift of Fear. That's the book I'm reading. He put this thought in your head where to reduce fear is this image was this woman was with her daughter at a park and she was like, "Oh, I got a meeting to go to." So she just walks up to some random lady in the park, scans her on a barcode, says that she's a safe person, has a good personality, this and that, leaves her kids with this random person, and then goes off. I mean, if that's it's kind of like the way Tinder and all that other stuff, I guess, works. You fit that profile. Well, is that what we're going to be in the future? Is that we're going to be this digital upload of a profile, which we already are, but it'll be accessible like that. Be like,
Interesting.
oh, you guys get along together. You pass the big five character exam and you fit to this type of person. So we really want a team with five different personalities. So, okay, we're going to take this tattoo on your arm, scan it, put five people in this group. You're all five different people. I mean, the honors program, I kind of felt like our final project was like that. The four people in our group was completely different. But we did that assessment and we realized that amongst ourselves. And then we actually fit into the positions that we fit best in, um, which worked out. But
Awesome.
anyways, yeah,
Yeah.
I could go on, dude.
Yeah. Thanks for
Right,
coming
Sam?
and yep, and thanks for contributing to the conversation, Donald. We
Yeah.
are a little we're at time. Any other final thoughts before we depart? I'll stick around for a couple minutes after we stop recording. If anybody has any questions or things related to the honors program or the PLA process. But thanks everybody who came and participated and asked great questions and comments in the chat, and also who came on and spoke on voice. And thanks to our honors advisors who came to visit with us and see what we're up to today and contributing to the discussion as well. So
Thank you so much. This was such a pleasure to see some of you, like I said, in person. Oh man, it's warmed me. It's made me really warm and soft. And my students out there, call me, email me whenever you want. And speaking on the subject that we're on, if you all have had any interactions with our hopefully as if AI jazz, if you guys have any feedback about it, please let us know on how maybe we could improve or what your experience with it, like it, don't like it, any feedback we could do to help get you a better experience here at the university. But thank you for everything, Mark.
Yeah, and I think I only have a couple students on here. Tanya, I think there was somebody else on there, but feel free to reach out to me if you guys have any questions on those emphases courses and everything. I went ahead and put the link on there for anybody who wants to hop on there and just kind of dig through that and everything. But feel free to reach out to us. That's why we're here, okay? And it was, hopefully this kind of give you an idea of the person behind the phone. So, we're people too. So feel free to reach out to us. We're not AI, so feel free to reach out to us. And thank you so much for having us, Mark. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody. Keep an eye out at the beginning of April. We'll put up the events for next month and hope to see you there. Have a good one, everyone. Bye.